Chances are, if you clicked on this video, you already know what a load velocity profile is, or at least you're somewhat familiar with the topic. By the time I release this video, I'll already have another video released, which I will put down in the description below. Check that out, explaining some of more the theoretical or the applied side of load velocity profiles, what it really is. This is simply how to calculate it. So I use Excel because I'm a big Excel guy. There's so many different ways to do this. Some softwares or some technologies do it themselves, but this is just how I do it in Excel, which you can apply to basically any 4 data points or however many data points. And yeah, so we'll get into it. So here I have 3 different profiles from the 1080 sprint, and all of these numbers are 5-meter peak, 5-meter average velocities. So of the 35-yard sprint, it calculated the highest average speed over 5 yards. So the fastest, or 5 meters, the fastest 5-meter section, that's what the speed is. So it's not the peak, it's the best 5-meter average. So one thing, it is important when you are typing all this data to be very crystal clear for the profiles, because the protocols are important, that you know what distances they are, if they're in yards or meters, what loads you used, the dates, and then this would be like athlete name. But as you can see, these are both for me. I had different yardages, but the same resistances. So you are going to want to select your loads and your speeds. So this would be speed in meters per second. And then you are going to insert, because load and speed is the Y and X axis. That's why you're highlighting those. Hence load and velocity, X and Y. And sort of scatter plot should look something like this. Make it a little bigger. So you're going to insert chart element, a linear trend line. You're going to do more trend line options. You'll scroll down, more trend line options. So the trend line is clicked. So I guess you could just click on the graph and then click on the trend line. You want the equation on the chart. This is important. And you want the, click the trend line and display R squared on the graph. And then we can make this all neat, a little cleaner. If I want to access options, I don't want those extra 5. And then this 3 is the lowest. So I'll change this, the minimum 3. So it's a little cleaner that way. I like making it a little bold. And this is just some quick formatting. So I'm just making everything bigger. This is like if you wanted to print this out, give this to athletes, et cetera, et cetera. So I say 1080 LVP, mat on 511. And then you can, let's see, graph, add element, axis title, horizontal, vertical. So this would be load. KG. I'm doing this from scratch. I know that this takes a little bit of time, but, and then this would be velocity, 5 meters per second. So velocity, or that'd be 5-meter velocity. Did I spell that sideways? 5-meter velocity. Words are hard. Okay, there we go. Boom. So there's that. All right. So then M, because Y equals MX plus B. So M is my slope that's automatically generated. Negative. And then you have B, which is the Y-intercept, or the max velocity, because that's when load is 0, the Y-intercept. And my R2, so this is the explained variance. So this is basically of this relationship of the velocity, the load can account for like 99% of it. So one thing that's nice is once you have all of this set up, because you're still with me totally, is as long as the loads are the same, so 310, 17, 24, 310, 17, 24, I can just drag this down for my speeds. And then it's not going to change much because it was me doing it again, but my profile was a little different the second time. 0.1787, 8.0251, 0.9948. And then I would just change this date. Oh, that's supposed to be 2. I could change it to 5/22. And then you have your next printout right there. So that's one thing that's really nice because I know you're still with me. But so what if you have different loads? Because if I drag, you can drag the y-axis, but the x-axis will always stay right there. So what you can do is you go up to here, select data. So as long as the graph is clicked, you'll have these two right here. Select data. And then similar to how we highlighted these two at the beginning when we inserted the scatter plot, we're just going to highlight these and hit OK. So you'll have to change the settings a little bit or the axes because now we only go 1 to 15 instead of 3 to 24. So I can right click, format chart area, click on the x-axis because that's what I want to mess with. And I want axis options. I want the maximum to be 16. And then, so see how it auto changed that? I just want it to go 0 to 16 basically. And then look, it's all resized, super nice. And then I could change this, but I'm not going to get into that. So next, negative 0.201 as my slope, 6.1. So this is one of my middle school athletes. So, so these are the 3 profiles. So 1080 sprint, this is getting into a little bit of the applied side, but what you actually do with it is you want to run at certain percentages of the max velocity. So 0, so this is like V decrement. So anything 0 to 10% velocity decrement would be considered the technical zone. So what can be technically good, I guess. 50% velocity decrement or half of your max speed would be max power, and then 25% would be somewhere in the middle. So those are 3 common percentages of your max speed you want to run at. So similar to how if you were back squatting, you would say, I want everyone to squat at their own 90%. Well, I want everyone to run at their own 50% because we each have our own equation, right? With these M and B because Y and X are the same. So what I want to do, so basically, if I know what velocity I want to run at, I guess I'll do this for one person at a time. Okay. So if I have this here, so let's see, V max for athlete 1 is, so my first profile, 8035. So this is coming from here, right? So Vmax is this. So if I want to run at 90% or 10% velocity reduction, I want that times, I could do 0.9, but to make one formula, I'm going to do my Vmax times 1 minus 10% because 10% is 0.1. So that is going to be, let's make this a little cleaner. Okay, so the goal velocity would be 7.23 meters per second for my fastest 5 meters. So I'm going to drag this formula down. So I want that box to stay the same. So I'm hitting F4, which is going to keep this box the same when I move it down. And I want this to stay in C, but I want the rows to change. So that's why there's only a dollar sign by the C. Okay. And if we take, 8.04 divided by 2, 50% is 402, right? So this is taking max velocity times 1 minus 50, which is 0.5, so times it by half. So those are the velocities I'm trying to run at, right? So then next, let's calculate the loads. So this is going to be 0 because I'm running at max velocity. So next, so you just work backwards. This is algebra. So I know the Y. This is the Y in the formula. Y equals mx plus b. So velocity I want to run at equals slope, which is calculated, slope times kilograms plus max velocity. So I know what y is, so it leaves me one variable, so I solve for x. And because x is load, that's the load I have to put on the 1080. So first I have to take my desired velocity, this, I guess I'll type it out, y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to take my desired velocity, y, minus b, and then all I have to do is divide by m to leave me x, okay? So I'm going to do y minus b, so max velocity, divided by my slope, which is m. And that's how many kilograms I have to put on the 1080 sprint to run at 10% velocity reduction. So if I want to drag this formula down, I want, so blue, Excel is nice like this. I want this to go down. So F4, 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 only money sign by the D. I want this to stay the same. So just one F4, double money sign. I want this to stay the same when I drag it down. So we can see those stay the same, that came down. So to run at 50% of my max velocity, I have to put 21 kilograms on the machine. All right. So then consequently, this would be the athlete's profile. Well, I guess I'll change this. So I'll show you how easy this is. Select data. Okay. I have to change these axes back to 25. Okay. So boom, here's my profile for, so once you do it once, it's pretty easy, as you can tell. So I'd print this out, I'd make this look a little neater, so I can just paste just the numbers because these are all formulas right here. Make this bold, say Matt on 211. So this would be, I'll just make this percentage. I'll move this down. So this would be velocity. This would be load. And boom, there's my profile right there. I'll make this a little neater. And that's how you do one profile. So that's how you profile on the 1080 sprint. So using all of these things, how to make the graph, what to select, how to get those things, we're just going to do that again for trap bar deadlift and for jump height. So I could print out just this. And this is how you individualize. So when I have 3 athletes, well, I guess I'll do this for athlete 2. So let's do athlete 2. So here's athletes, or my middle schooler. So here's their max velocity. So I copied and pasted this one, and I'm just moving that over. So 10% for them would be that. Half of, 616 is 308. Perfect. Load is going to be 0. And so like I said, you do this once, then you can just copy paste. So I'm copying and pasting the formula, and it makes sense that none of these are changing the columns because there's always a money sign in front of the D, the D, and the G. So I can just drag this down. So I need his slope. So his M, because I'm doing athlete number 3. I need his max velocity, and I need his 10%. If you see that right there. This would be athlete 3. So he needs 3 kilograms. We take this down. He needs 15. So we can do the same workout, but now you're going to put 21 on for me, and you're going to put 15 on for him. So see how easy that was? Once you make the formula once and you understand the basics of Excel, I'm going a little quick, but you can do this pretty quickly for everyone, right? So then I could make this for him. I'm just going to paste. I'm going to paste just the values because those are all formulas, right? I can do that. This is the same right here. I'm going to make these all pretty. And let's keep those. Boom. So this would be VDEC. And this is going to be athlete 3 on 122. And look at that, you know. So that's how you do it for the 1080 sprint. Trap bar deadlift. So I have the loads. So this is in pounds. So the average meters per second, but I took the best rep. So these were all doubles. So these were all sets of 2. And then I don't know the date for this one. Not a good job recording these. So load and velocity, average velocity meters per second. So I'm going to highlight those. And it's good that I'm showing you, it can be horizontal or vertical. Excel's pretty smart. So insert a scatter plot. So see how ugly that is. We'll have to change around those. So I have the chart selected, trend line, linear, trend line, options, equation, and R squared. Okay, so we have that. And that is the profile. So let's see. Our weights only go from 109 to 149. So I'm going to go for, so I'm going to click on the x-axis. I'm going to change that to 100 for the minimum and 150 for the maximum. And the speeds go from 0.6 to 0.8. So I'm just going to do like 0.5 to 0.9. Perfect. So it looks a little cleaner. That'll look better on a printout. So I could select the whole thing, right? So nothing individually is selected. I just want to make it all bigger. I'm going to make the size a little bigger as well. I can, this one, chart element, axis title, horizontal, vertical. It's going to be load. In pounds, this is going to be average velocity. Did I spell it right this time? Nice. Meters per second. And the title is going to be athlete 1 trap bar deadlift on questionable date. All right, perfect. And boom, what did that take? A minute maybe? And knowing what we know from earlier, this is going to be super easy to just copy paste or just modify quickly. So the slope, negative 0.0049, because that's the M right here. B is 1.3681. So this is going to be velocity when load is 0. So if they were to like jump with their hands on their hips, I guess that's how fast that they would go. And the R squared is 0.9192. So not a very good profile, but I'll get there in a second. So in lifting, for example, so y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus. So velocity is aka bar speed. So I guess I'll say bar speed velocity. So bar speed, that's the y. So bar speed equals slope, which is automatically calculated, times how many pounds it is plus the max velocity. So I know what my y is. So if I want to train at these certain things, so different bar speeds are associated with different absolute strength, speed, strength, speed, accelerated strength, max, speed, I'm sure if you know what that is, you know what the different ranges are. So I can say for this workout, I want to train at 1 meter per second. I want to move the bar pretty fast. So consequently, how fast should it be? So I know my y, I know the desired bar speed, I know my m, and I know my b. So I just have to solve for x. So I'm going to first take my y. So my y is, so just for this example, my y is this, 0.3 meters per second minus b divided by my slope. So if I want to lift at if I want to lift at 0.3 meters per second, I have to put 218 pounds on the bar. So if I want to drag this formula down, so here's an example if I don't do it. So if I move this down one, then everything else moves down as well. So instead of M being the purple, M is now the B. So that's why I have to do the money signs. So first blue, I want the row to change, but I want this to stay the same. So F4, 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 money sign in the B, not the 14. This, I want to stay the exact same. Actually, I want this to move sideways, but I don't want it to move downwards. F4, F4. So I want the C to change, but not the 11. I don't want this to move downwards. And same for the M. And now I can double click. And it'll automatically go down as long as there's a number here. So 1 meter per second, we're going to put 75 pounds on the bar. So this is probably going to be a jump. 1 meter per second is pretty fast. So the bar plus 15 pounds on each side. So that would be this athlete's profile. So I could copy, paste that right there. And then I could say bar speed, load. Then I could say athlete, question mark, trap bar deadlift, LVP, athlete, questionable date, trap bar, and boom. You can print this out. You can put this on their program. And this isn't to say that it'll be that load every time, because there's some fluctuations in the athlete's ability, but you can base your first set on that, et cetera, et cetera. So now let's see how easy this is to move sideways. So the Y won't change, or it'll go down, but it won't go sideways, but this will. So I can't do this because the load is different when I did this. So this is a different athlete. This is myself. And I can't drag this sideways. So I'm just gonna have to reselect the data again. So click the graph here, select data. I have my load and my bar speed. So I'm going to have to change this because I didn't even get down to 150. I started at basically 200 pounds. So I'm going to select that. So right click, format chart area. So that comes up. Select my X axis because that's what I want to change, axis options. So I started, let's just go 190 for the minimum. Oh, there's my data points. Maximum, let's just go 300. Let's go 290. Okay. 290. Now the velocities went from 0.75, 0.74 to 0.49. So I'm going to select my Y axis. Let's have the top be 0.75 because that's the fastest. Let's have the bottom be 0.45. And look at that. So I did 5 data points in this one as well. It auto calculates that. So I just have to type in my M, which is negative 0.0029, 1.2995 for my B, and my R squared is 0.787. So the R, like I said, the explained variance, that isn't for calculations. That's just to let you know if it was a good test or not, which I'll explain in the nuances. So because I already made these formulas once, like I said, I want these to go sideways, and I want this to stay there when I move it sideways. So I can just copy, paste. Oh, look at that. Look at that. So my M and B move sideways, right? So this is for this profile, but that stayed the same. And what can I do? Ooh, drag it down. Look at that. So 1 meter per second, I need 103 pounds because this was me, right? So, so then, I could change this. So I could say trap bar deadlift LVP, mat on 4-1. I can copy and paste this. Oh, so when I pasted that, see how the formulas, when I pasted that, the formulas move sideways, like I wanted. So that's why when you move this stuff around, what's already calculated, you have to right click, paste just the values. So if I click on this, there's the formula, but if I click on this, it's just the numbers. So I can say trap bar deadlift, LVP, mat, and then boom, I can print that out, give that to the athlete, the coach for their workout. So last one. So I cannot, although this is still me, I did different loads the second time. So I'm gonna have to select the data again. Select data, just 4 data points. I'm gonna have to change this really quick. Well, so this stayed up the format chart area. I have my X-axis selected. You go to axis options. Let's see, I went 177 to 309. So let's see, let's go like 170 to let's go like 310. 310. Okay. The velocities, oh, I went up to 1 meter per second. Wow. So I'm going to select my y-axis. Let's make my maximum 1.05. And my minimum, the slowest I got, 0.52, so let's do 0.5. And look, there's all my data points. That's just because it wasn't the best profile, it's a 0.95. But, so I can do the same thing, negative 0.004. That's my M from my equation right here. 1.712. And then 0.9537. Oh, 9537. Okay. And then with my formula, oh, look at that. I can drag it down just like that. Boom. Incredible. And this all is how I want it to be with those numbers, that bar speed, et cetera, et cetera. So last quick example, just how you can apply this concept to basically anything. I can do that for load and jump height. So this is hands on hips. So select, insert, scatter plot. So insert, scatter plot. I'm going to select this, add chart element. I'm just going to go through this really quick. See if you guys can follow along. I'm not going to say anything. See how good of a teacher I am. Let's see. 0 to 45. So that's fine. 17. Let's go 20 to 12. Bottom 12. Okay. I know. I like making everything bold. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Make this bigger so you can see it. Ooh, that's a pretty good profile right there. 999. So this is not my this was not me. This is my athlete. Call the athlete X. Ooh, that's cool. So this would be like a load, jump, height profile on questionable date. So my M is negative 1.004. 17.584. My R2 is 0.9994. So this was hands on hips, jumping as high as you can. This was holding a 10-pound plate, jumping as high as you can at your chest, 25, and then holding a trap bar. And I measured the jump height on jump map. So I don't know too much about resisted jumping, to be honest. But like I said, there's these concepts that you can apply. So this would be like jump height decrement. This would be load. I'm going to put this up here. Oh, skirt. Okay. This would be load in pounds. Oh, I got to put my axes on the graph. Thanks for the reminder. So kind of you. Axis, title, primary, horizontal. This would be load, pounds. This would be jump height in inches. Perfect. Makes it a little bigger so it's not as clunky. Perfect. Look at that. So this would be, I guess, jump height max. So max is going to be B because that's the y-intercept. So when load is, so because this is interesting because it's really good profile. So it's a 0.999. So 99.9% of whatever the jump height is, you could say it's because of what they were loading or the prediction. It's very good at predicting. So hands on hips, they jumped 17.6 and it's predicted that they were going to jump at 0 with 17.58. So I say that that's pretty good. If I want to jump 10, so let's go y equals mx plus b. Plus b. So my desired, oh, I guess I'll do desired jump height. That'll be a little easier. It's tough when, I've realized that trying to explain stuff like this when you know it pretty well, it makes me sound like the dumbest person ever. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Don't answer that question. So jump height times one skirt. Oh, come on, Excel. I was speaking so good about you. 1 minus 0.1, which is 0.9. I want to money sign that, but I just want to number money sign that. So Okay, perfect. So half of that would be 8.8. So then here we go. So then here is, so this would be jump height in inches. This would be the load that I need, 0, because that's my max. So remember y, so this is my desired jump height minus b, which is max velocity, or sorry, max jump height, divided by my slope. Boom. I should hold 2 pounds to jump 10% lower. So then let's see, I want this to go down. So 3 F4s. I want that to stay the same, 1 F4. I need that to stay the same. So to jump 50% of my, wait, that's not right. Oh, this is supposed to be, oh, so I messed up. So this is point. So I was like, that seems kind of low. So knowing that 50% is 8 and a trap bar, so 45 pounds is 13 inches, and I need to get 8. I know that this should be lower, or this should be heavier than 45, right? 45 pounds is 13 inches. And I want to jump lower than that. I have to go heavier. So here's what's nice about making formulas like this is I mistyped this. So knowing what it should be, you can double check your work to see if you're on the right track. So this is good that I messed up. I'm like, that seems kind of low, actually. And this is why you have to select the cells as opposed to typing in 0.1004. So I moved a decimal around. So I'm going to change that. And it auto spits out now what it should be. Look at that, incredible. So now I should put 87 pounds in the bar to jump 8.8 inches, which is half of my best jump height. So here's some of the nuances really quick, so that you just learn with time. So R squared should be, in my experience, above 0.98. So if we look back, 0.987, pretty good profile. 99, pretty good profile. Pretty good profile. I found with the 1080 sprint, unless they stumble, it's going to be a pretty good profile. Now with the trap bar, 91, 97, 95, a little more inconsistent. Now I just have to dial in on my protocols, maybe have more data points, maybe just have more experience with the exercise. So this athlete, maybe they just haven't trap barred enough to become really proficient at it. Or maybe the linear transducer to measure bar speed was, not straight up and down. So it messed up some of these bar speeds. So this is saying we should probably do that again. Now there's some truth to these numbers, but it's saying that's not that consistent. As you can see, that's pretty far off the line. That's pretty far off the line. And with the jump height, this was a pretty good profile. So in my experience, 0.98 is a decent profile. 4+ data points. I've heard people say 2 before. I've heard some people say 3. I like 4 because if you think about it, 2 makes the line. And if it was just 1 making it up or down, but then 4, you have 2 data points also influencing the ends of the data point. That's kind of how my brain thinks about it. I like 4. You can do more. Rest in between. So this is protocols, right? You have to write these. You have to have the date. You have to have the distances. You have to have the units, right? You have to have the loads. So to make it as repeatable as possible. So not for Excel, but I actually have a printout in my facility of what to do for the 1080 profiling. And it says rest 2.5, 3 minutes. So once the athlete's done, start on your watch, just for consistency's sake. Resistances / increments of loads as you're doing this. So on the 1080 sprint, I can do increasing by 7 every time. This is increasing basically by 5 besides the first one. For one of these profiles, I just put on 20 pounds every time. For this one, I just put on the easiest plates that I could because I wanted to go heavier that day. This was increasing 10 pounds every time instead of 20. So I go back and forth, and this might make some people mad. But if you think about theoretically what a profile is, it's 4 plus data points assessing the athlete's ability over a variety of loads, and you get their formula from it, right? So does it have to be the exact same every time? Yes and no. I think this is how to do it in Excel. This isn't the theoreticality, that's a new word, of profiling, but you know what I mean. So JB Marin for the 1080 sprint, for example, says that one of the 4 data points should be slower than 50%. So if I know that, so for me on February 11, right, 50% is 21. That's saying that I should have one data point heavier than 21. And that's not, so of course I don't know that when I'm profiling, but so 3 kilograms, pretty close to 0. So I would guess that my max velocity, so it's 7.5 with 3 kilograms. I would guess my max is like 7.6, 7.7, 7.8, 8, something like that. So then I know that I should be somewhere. So let's just say 8, and it ended up being 8.03. I know that it should be somewhere under 4 would be below 50% while you're actually doing it, right? And if you don't get to half of your lightest sprint, you can add a 5th one. You can add a 5th one. Just make sure you're resting. Make sure you make note that you did 5. But some athletes that I've trained, they're 50%. The machine can't go heavy enough, and all of this comes with time. So here's one more quick example. I'll zoom in for you guys. So this is the 5-meter peak velocity, right? So it auto calculates of the entire run where the highest velocity would be if you average this bold part, right? From there to there is the highest velocity for 5 meters of the entire sprint. So for this profile, maybe we should have went a little farther, because we can see that they didn't reach their true max yet for that run because they were still getting faster, right? Their last step was part of their best 5 yards, versus on this one, besides the first sprint, they had 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. 1, 2. So they had 4 steps that were slower than their max velocity. So we know that they for sure hit their max velocity on that rep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 steps after their max velocity. So they for sure hit their max velocity. 1, 2, 3, 4, they for sure hit their max velocity. So it's saying that, so 27.4 meters is 30 yards. So we did 30 yards for the sprint. That maybe we should have done 35 because they were still getting faster. So there's things like that you kind of just learn over time. And what's the point of profiling? Like I said, or not like I said, but why is it worth doing all this stuff? To actually apply it. It individualizes your, so what does this turn into? Individualized prescription. So all of this stuff really gets you this, gets you that. And you as a coach, you have to decide when to chase 1 meter per second, when to chase 0.5 meters per second. You have to know how many reps and how far to run at 50%, So this is just getting that. This is not to tell you how to do your job. This is just to help you individualize for each athlete. So that was way longer than I planned it to be. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, let me know. Watch my 5-minute sports science video on kind of the background of load velocity profiling. Pretty simple. Excel's awesome. It goes pretty quick once you've done it before. So hopefully that helps. Happy profiling.